So I thought, well, still, my logic said if I turn around and go back, I'll probably be in trouble since I haven't seen a soul and it's a long way back. I'll just keep going.
Today's guest, Suzanne Mathia, is a full-time professional photographer, workshop instructor, writer, and educator with a portfolio that graces the pages of prestigious publications such as Arizona Highways Magazine, as well as numerous national publications. An Adobe certified expert in Lightroom and Photoshop, Suzanne empowers photographers through both group and private classes, focusing on extracting the utmost beauty from their images and optimizing their digital workflow. Her work is not just a collection of images, but an invitation to witness the magic and majesty of the natural world. Find out more about Suzanne and her work at Suzanne, Suzanne, Mathia, Mathia, photography.com. Now on to the episode with wild woman, Suzanne Mathia. Let's go. Have you been up to Petrified Forest National Park?
In fact, funny. Yeah, that is so spooky because literally, as I was waiting for you this morning, I was going through some old PFO images. And
I forget people call it PFO.
PFO, yeah.
Someone said that to me and I was like, what are you talking about?
PFO, yeah. No, well, yeah. But yeah, no, that's a really fun place to shoot. I find it you're talking about White Sands being difficult sometimes. I find Petrified Forest difficult to shoot. I love exploring there and I love, wandering around in the washes and finding all sorts of good cracked mud and stuff. But to find a really epic, I call landscape photograph of Petrified Forest, I find is really difficult.
Yeah.
But it's a fun place to go. I love it. Yeah.
It is cool. I'm really wanting to explore it more. So it's on my short list.
Yeah, I'd like to go back actually. Well, if you ever do, holler at me because it's not far from where I'm at, so I can get up there pretty easily. And I'd like to explore it again.
Do you want to do bougie backcountry camping with me?
What's bougie backcountry camping? Sounds good.
I have this plan. This is what I'm going to do because I want to go right after monsoons and it's hot there. And so I don't want to stay out wandering around in the desert for hours on end when it's hot. And I don't want to carry all the water either. I think this dovetails into something I want you to talk about. But so what I want to do is go backpack in because you have to camp a mile off the highway. And there's no lodging in the park that I know of, is there? I don't think there is.
Not that I know of, no.
So that's the only way you can stay in the park is if you backcountry camp. So you backcountry camp. And then I can walk, I can do my evening and my morning shoot. And then I can walk the whatever mile back to my car, reload my water. I have a fridge in there, get cold drinks, grab a lunch, have a nap, drive around the park.
Sounds like my day. Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to my campsite or whatever, wander around, go back, do evening, morning shooting again, repeat. Anyway, that's my thought.
Oh, I don't consider that bougie. I consider that, well, no, I mean, that's how I would do
bougie
it.
Bougie backpacking?
Yeah. I guess if you put backpacking in there, it kind of makes it
bougie
more
backpacking.
bougie. But
people are like, wait, what is that? That's not even backpacking. I'm like, yeah, it is. Carry the backpack down.
Carry my camera. Yeah.
Because I could carry water if I wasn't carrying all the photography gear.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of all of that, before we were recording, I was mentioning to you that because you were on Brews and Views, which I will link to Suzanne's conversation or your Brews and Views episode. If you don't know what Brews and Views is, it's a YouTube channel and they talk about photography. And it's actually really great because even though it's mostly a bunch of bros,
bros and brews and
and beers. But the conversation surrounding talking about photography and some really amazing images is really fun and inspiring. So if you want to be inspired by maybe some photography or some photographers that you've never, been introduced to before, then go watch that. So I'll link to Suzanne's episode, and then you can start off with that one. Anyway, in that episode, you were talking with the guys and you were like, oh yeah, it gets hot here in Arizona. Like one time I did an assignment for Arizona Highways magazine, and this has nothing to do with any of these things that you told me in your form, but will you just tell us that story real quick? Because you even said like, oh wait, there's a thing you did with Michelle, and you were like, we just embraced our inner badasses. And
yeah, there we go.
I know. So listen, this to me is like, I would never attempt this, and I'm like, this is badass. Tell us about that.
Well, it's only badass if you know what you're getting yourself into and do it anyway. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So there's a ranger down that works out of Phantom Ranch. His name's Soars, Sjors. Has been down there forever. Quite a character. He meets all the river trips coming down the river, and real well-known guy. Anyway, Arizona Highways needed to do like an environmental portrait, and they were going to do a little backstory on him. So they just needed somebody to go down and take some photographs. Well, knowing that, I spend a lot of time at the Grand Canyon, I said, hey, Suzanne will do that, I'm sure. So they called me up and said, hey, would you like to go down to Phantom Ranch and interview Soars and take some environmental portraits? And I went, sure, that sounds great. When do you want me to go? I think it was like July 29th. Okay, so if you know anything about the Arizona climate, July 29th is probably the absolute worst time to go down. But, being the brave soul that I am, it was a great opportunity. And so I decided that, yes, I would do that. So I was going to hike. I did hike down the South Kaibab Trail, and then I was going to hike back up the Bright Angel Trail. So relatively simple, maybe 3.5, 4 hours down, maybe the same on the way back if you're paying attention to what you're doing. So I took off at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing it was probably going to get a little toasty on the trail. And South Kaibab Trail, there's no shade and there's no water. There's nothing. You just got to go. So I'm stumbling my way down in the dark with my headlamp and got all my gear and, of course, all the photographic gear and water and food and all the good stuff that you need to have. But the problem is as the sun came up, it was absolutely gorgeous on the trail, and who had to go and take photographs. So I was photographing here and I was photographing there, and the time was going by and it was getting hotter, and I still wasn't even close to being down at the bottom of the canyon. So I thought, oh, well, this is a bit silly. I better get a move on, Anyways, absolutely glorious photographs. So I trudged on, and down the trail I went. And it just got hotter and hotter. I didn't get down to the Black Bridge, which goes over the Colorado River, probably till 11:30, almost 12 o'clock. And I was just so exhausted by the time I got down there. So right before you get to the bridge, there's a tunnel that goes through the rock. Nothing is more welcome to be in a cold, dark tunnel after you've been hiking all the way down there. So stopped in there for a little while, cooled off a bit, went out the other side, and it's still quite a jaunt to get to Phantom Ranch, even if you go once over the bridge. But anyway, I got over the bridge, and now I'm literally down by the side of the Colorado River with. It's too dangerous to go in the water right there, but there's a stream that comes through. And so there was a stream come through, and I threw off my backpack. I threw off almost all my clothes and just laid on my back with just my little face hanging out in that creek down there just to cool my body temperature off. Because, it was hot, and I had really, really overdone it. So I finally got to Phantom Ranch, met Soars, did all that, and they had put me up in the dorm rooms down there. So I climbed up on top of the bunk beds there. And I was the only one in the dorm room, because no other idiot's going to go down there that time of year. So I was the only one in the dorm rooms. So I got up on the top, which is right by the air conditioner. So I thought, this is great. It was perfect. Took a little nap. I was great. But then I went to get down off the top bunk, and I couldn't move. I was absolutely frozen up with, not cold, but my muscles were just so tight from coming all the way down the canyon like that I could barely get myself off of that bunk.
Oh my gosh. It's exhausting to be in heat.
Oh, it was. Yeah. And to go you're just going downhill and, it's not something that I do all the time. I mean, I hike the canyon a little bit here and there, but I'm certainly not a rim to rim hiker. So it was kind of a shock to the muscles and to the system. But anyway, after that loosened up, then I was fine down there for a couple of days and just followed Soares around and made some great photographs. And it was a lovely time. But I don't think I would do it again voluntarily, to be honest with you.
And then you had to hike back out, and we're talking like 120 plus degrees.
The nice thing about coming out is it does get generally a little bit cooler as you get up to the top. Plus, the Bright Angel Trail has got shade, it's got water, and then you can stop halfway at Havasu Gardens, and it's lovely. It's like a little paradise down there. And then I was lucky enough that Soares called ahead to the ranger station at Havasu Gardens and said, hey, we've got somebody coming up. If she wants to stay over, can she stay over overnight? So, sure. So I only had to hike up to Havasu Gardens, got to spend the night at the ranger house there, which was lovely. Got up early in the morning and then finished the rest of the hike out, which was great. It was wonderful. But that was the way to do it. Yeah. But as I say, if somebody was to turn around and tell me to do that again, I said, no. Beef jerky and an orange saved my life on that trip, I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's funny though that if I think it could be different if you were just going straight down. But to me, when you said, I was like photographing lovely things along the way, I'm like, that is what gets us in trouble every single time.
Yeah. I mean, if I'd have stuck to plan, I'd have been down at, Phantom Ranch by 9:30, 10 o'clock at the latest. But it was absolutely, you can't go for a sunset and you're right in the middle of the Grand Canyon on a trail and it's just glorious. And I wouldn't have traded it for the world. I'm just glad I didn't die.
I'm just glad you didn't die as well.
I'm glad I didn't die. Yeah. But that was close.
I feel like if there's anything, if there's any one phrase that happens on this podcast, it's like, I'm glad I didn't die.
Glad I didn't die. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's been many times that we do stupid stuff and,
I know,
thank God somebody is watching out for us. Yeah.
I know. Sometimes we don't even know what kind of danger we're in, but
exactly.
Yeah, it is good. It is really good to be prepared.
Fortunately, there's people on the trail and there's rangers on the trail and, as long as you can find a little bit of shade and you've got a little, I had some water with me and a little bit of snack that, I wasn't exactly going to die, but it sure felt like it.
I think there's something to be said though for being acclimated to warm places.
Yeah.
Because I was just, I'm mentioning this again, but I was just in South Africa in the Drakensberg and because I'm used to more warmer temperatures, it actually it got cool there, but not like freezing cold. And then some of the days I feel like it got up to like maybe 80s. So it was like warmer, we're sweating, it's warm. And, most of the guys, they're living in Scotland. A couple that Murray Livingston, who I went with, and his brother.
Sure,
I mean, of course, they go down to South Africa and it's warm, but not on the norm. That's not their normal. And then most guys are the rest of the guys were from like Wales or Canada, and I'm the only one who lives in heat. Yeah. And they were like, "It's so hot." I'm like, "I guess." Yeah.
No, I know it does help if you're used to it. And I think too, you learn what you listen to your body because you've been in those situations before, so you can kind of feel if something's coming on that you're not quite prepared for. So you can kind of take care of things, and to rest, and to find shade, and to hydrate, but don't hydrate too much. And so living in a hot climate does kind of prepare you a little bit better for that. But I wouldn't want to go from Scotland to Phantom Ranch. Yeah, definitely.
No, I know. Not at least not in those temperatures.
Yes, exactly, what I mean? Exactly.
And there's lots of this kind. I think there's lots of these kinds of situations. Like I remember just being out in White Sands with some friends back in April, and And, we go out while it's hot, and I'm like, okay, we've got to rest. Let us, before we go up to the top, because we're going to want to go on top of dunes and photograph, and then you're exposed. Let's just rest in the shade, have a minute, cool off, because the dunes are so lovely because they don't absorb the heat.
I know.
They're so nice and cool. Like, it's actually really restful to cool down in the shade.
And the nice thing about it is no matter what time of day, one side or other of the dune will always have a little bit of shade in there. So when I take groups out there, you'll see us all lined up in the shadow of a dune for a while, just getting a little bit of respite. Because like you say, the gypsum is actually cool. And when it's been in the shade there for a while, it actually sucks up some of the heat from your body, which is wonderful,
It's awesome.
But yeah, I could wander White Sands forever. Yeah.
Same, and I have.
Yes, me too.
Same, and I have. Yes, for sure. Okay, so I feel like you'll deny this.
Okay.
But I kind of feel like you're a little bit of a Grand Canyon expert. So
I'll deny that, but
yes.
I'm a Grand Canyon fan. I'll say that. Yeah.
But I think out of like so many of us in the world, you photographed there.
Yes.
More times
I have been there a lot. Yes.
Right. Right. So I kind of feel like that makes you an expert. But anyway.
Okay. Sure. We'll say that. Sure. I'm an expert.
For this conversation, we can say that. Anyway, I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about, not just about the Grand Canyon, but you have a little blurb in here that talks about like sitting on the rim. Like, tell us about photographing the Grand Canyon, because I feel like it's a really special place.
It is a really special place, and it's one of those places where the more familiar you are with it, the more you learn about it. It's like a good old friend. When you first go to the Grand Canyon, you go to Mather Point and stand on the edge and take a photograph at 11 or 12 o'clock in the day, and it doesn't look like everybody else's photograph. And then you start exploring some different places, and you start wandering not off trail, but off the beaten path a little bit. And then the more you go up there, the more you learn about it. The places that you can get away from people and things, and especially when the weather's coming in. You got like I say, the monsoon season up there is just fantastic, because you can sit on the south rim and watch storms go over the north rim, and you're relatively safe and secure where you are. But you can see these massive thunderstorms, lightning storms going over the canyon, which is, absolutely unbelievable. And there's the south rim of the canyon, and then there's the north rim of the canyon, which is completely different, much more isolated, much wilder, much more open space. I love going up to the north rim, especially in the fall, because there's a lot of aspen up there.
It's colder up there. It gets snowier. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little colder. It's higher. Yeah, definitely, because it's 8,500 feet over on the north rim. And then going through the canyon, going through the Colorado River. I've done a few trips down the Colorado River, which have just been amazing. So you get to learn a little bit more about the canyon and different aspects of it, from seeing it from the north rim, the south rim, and then all the way through it from Lee's Ferry down to Diamond. Did a trip just last year, which was just fabulous. Took a group of people down there, and we had just a marvelous time.
That's amazing. I think the Grand Canyon, if you've never been there, it's just one of the most spectacular places. And I remember the first time I went and thinking, oh, okay, it's the Grand Canyon. Like, we've all seen photographs of it. But until you witness its depth and the expansiveness of it, you just don't know. I just think it's incomprehensible.
Yeah. And it's many moods, and especially as a photographer, we're always very conscious of light and shadow and clouds and different kinds of atmosphere. And sometimes there we even get an inversion layer, which is just unbelievable to watch, because you can be sitting on the rim of the canyon and see nothing but clouds beneath you. So every time I go up there, it's a different type of experience. And like sometimes I'll just go up. Like a couple of weeks ago, I just decided to go up there for just an overnighter. I'd just gotten a new book by Kevin Fidarko and Pete McBride called Walk in the Park. And it's about their trek through the Grand Canyon and talks about, all the trials and tribulations they had walking the length of the Grand Canyon. So I really wanted to get into that book. So I just literally went up to a little campsite up by Desert View, which is where I like to go. And I just sat in the camp and read the book. I didn't really do very much at the canyon at all. But it was just nice to just be there and, be in some somewhat cooler temperature and listen to their stories or regaling their adventures. That's some adventures they've had down there. I just like to pop up there every once in a while and just get my fill of the canyon. It's beautiful.
That's amazing. I love that you live so close, or that maybe you're not even like so close. It's a few hours, yes?
Yeah, it's about 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And I think some people would be happy not to drive, but when you live in the Western United States.
That's nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those distances are nothing. And there's nothing there. I mean, as I say, once you get on the highway and you get out of Phoenix, metro area, I mean, you're basically going through reservation land or, open highway. So it's really easy traveling. It's not that big a deal. So, I mean, from here, I can get up to Page in southern Utah, North Rim, South Rim of the Canyon, over to White Sands, over to Bisti. Everything is just sort of within this little hub, and I can get to places quite easily and do.
I think this is such a great segue.
Uh-oh.
So you told me about how you went on this, you took yourself on like a little mini, little road adventure.
Road adventure.
I know you're remembering now, but I have a feeling that you do this. Like, you're like, what's down that road? Let me just go explore it. Right. Yeah. And I think actually that's where a lot of times the memorable things happen, or some of the best photographs are found or discovered, and or we make images that are more personal, and things that other people haven't, because you're not just going to, here in the US, we have Mesa Arch and everybody takes a photo of it, right? So it's not just Mesa Arch, right?
Right.
And so I think it's really fun to go do this little, exploration. And so do you remember what this was?
I do. Well, actually,
it
doesn't put me in a very good light, I'll tell you, because, once again, good old photography almost got me in trouble. But I was up visiting a very good and very good friend of mine and a great photographer, Gary Ladd, up in Page. Can't remember what we were doing, but we were messing around with something up there. Anyway, when I left, I was just talking to him. I said, I've never really explored this area. There's an area up on the other side of Lake Powell called Nipple Bench. And so I said, I've never really explored up in that area very much. And he said, you should go up there. Just, take a drive up this, Smoky Mountain Road. Not that there was ever a signpost that said that, but I noticed afterwards that that's where I was. And just have a wander up there. It says it's real pretty scenery. And so I thought, okay, that sounds fun. I've got nothing better to do. It's relatively early in the morning. So I took off. I went over the other side of Lake Powell. And if you keep going out there, you'll end up in places like Alstrom Point and, some better known places on the other side of Lake Powell. But I found this road and dirt road and just started wandering up. And I kept wandering, and I kept getting out and taking pictures, and then wandering a little bit more, and wandering a little bit more. And I have this horrible habit or thing that I don't like to ever come back the way I came when I go somewhere. I always want to take an alternate route back. That is going to be the death of me one of these days, for sure. But anyway, so I kept wandering on this road. And it got to the point that even though I didn't exactly know where I was, and I didn't, I figured, well, it might take me just as long to turn around and go back. Not that I want to go back that way, but it'd take me just as long to turn around and go back. Or I could just keep going and keep exploring, right? So under normal circumstances, that probably wouldn't have been bad. If I'd have had a map and I knew where I was going, GPS, knew where I was going, a full tank of gas, did not have, lots of water, did not have. I had a few leftover camping, bits and pieces. I could probably make a cup of tea. I know that being British, that would probably hold me over quite well. But I just kept going and I kept going and I kept going. And then, funnily enough, I was listening to Matt Payne's podcast. I think I went through 3 podcasts out there. So that tells you how long I was on the road.
That's 3 hours.
That's 3 hours. And in the whole time I'm out there, I didn't see another soul. Not another car, not a hiker, not nothing. I just kept barreling along. And I'm having a good time. I'm thinking to myself, this is probably kind of dumb, but, I'm having a good time. So as I say, 3 hours later, I'm still wandering. Now the gas is getting scarily low, and now I'm starting to get a little bit worried. But as I'm wandering along down in the dirt in this sort of, berm along the side of the dirt road, I see a sign that points somewhere. I don't know if it's actually pointing in the right direction, but it said Escalante. I went, oh, I've heard of Escalante. There's hope, right. Maybe, So I thought, well, still, my logic said if I turn around and go back, I'll probably be in trouble since I haven't seen a soul and it's a long way back. I'll just keep going. So finally, I went over hill, over dale, and way off in the distance, I could see that there was a little town. And once I could see it, I knew I was fine. That was walking distance, even if it was 2 days walking distance. I knew I could make it. So I ended up chugging along and ended up coming into Escalante literally on fumes, and pulled into the nearest gas station and gassed up with that. And so while I was there, I was right by Calf Creek Falls. Have you ever been to Calf Creek Falls?
No, but my friend was trying to convince me to go, and we just didn't have time. I know I gotta go. So
pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, oh, well, since I'm here, because now I have a map, because I got a map while I was at the gas station. So now I kind of know where I'm at and what's going on. So I saw that Calf Creek Falls was there. So I thought, oh, I'll camp there for the night. But of course, everybody else had the same idea. So the campground was full. But I sort of gave a sob story to the campground host, so he let me basically camp down by the river. So I just pulled my sleeping bag out and my pad and just camped down by the river down there. Hiked out to Calf Creek Falls, took some amazing I thought they were amazing photographs, and then actually ran into a couple of people that have been on one of my workshops down in Havasupai. So that was kind of fun. So I got to meet those people. And then, because once again, I don't want to go back the way I came. So now I'm in Escalante in southern Utah, and I decide I'm going to drive back through Monument Valley and through Torrey, and then Monument Valley, and then all the way down and all the way back again. So I took a very, very circuitous route. But coming back, I had food, I had gas, I had a map, I had water, and I still had a couple more of Matt's podcasts to listen to. So that got me home in one piece. But I always think of that as that was just about the dumbest thing I think I've ever done. But as I say, the photo gods were looking out for me, so I was okay. But I don't make a habit of leaving in my car to go somewhere unless I have, all the things I should have. It's just that I decided to do that little jaunt on a whim one morning, and ended up spending 2 days out in the highway.
It's funny. Sometimes we think, oh, it's just going to be quick.
Yeah, like just around the corner.
I don't need to gather things because it's just going to be quick. Yeah. And the one thing I have learned taking road trips out there, is that I could be driving, and if I don't let my tank get below a quarter tank, because sometimes it's like 2 hours before the next surfaces. Yeah. Like you don't know, and I don't carry extra gas with me. No. I do always carry not 5 gallons, but a couple of gallons of water always, because I'm always out in who knows I'm out in who knows where, right? I usually do too, but yes, there were times, but I'm sure that it probably all worked out fine. If I'd have gone back the other way, I might have,
had a flat tire and be stranded out there forever, and then you'd have nobody to talk to today. So it all worked out for the best.
I'm glad I have you to talk to today. But see, this is why this is so important, because I think being able to allow yourself to explore and open yourself up to these opportunities, and be able to take your time and go and do the wander is awesome.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it doesn't help you if you get stuck somewhere or you're like if it's like actually really dangerous. And so we're glad that you came here to tell the caution. It's like Suzanne's cautionary tale of gas up, carry water and snacks and a map. And I mean, even sometimes like you could have a paper map. Those are, I mean,
I have those DeLormes. I have a whole stack of them, and they live in my car in the Forerunner. And I mean, they just stay there, Utah, California, Nevada, New Mexico. Yep.
Because your map is only as good as your internet connection now. If you have it on your phone.
Oh, I wouldn't trust that. And you don't get that when I had no, I mean, thank God I had radio. That's about all I could get out there.
I download offline Google Maps.
Yes. Yeah.
So I always have those.
But I still don't trust them. I like the good old paper map when I'm out there. Yep.
Oh, this is a total aside. Do you think we've lost the skill of reading a paper map?
Oh, God, yes. I don't think my generation has, because that's all we had. But I think, oh God, here we go. I think these young'uns nowadays
I have gray hairs. I can talk like that too.
Haven't got a clue how to read a map. Yeah, no, I totally think that's true. Yeah.
I think it's an easily learned skill, though, because if you're going to go adventuring, why not just have a paper map and kind of double check where you are, compare your paper map to your phone map or whatever, car map. Because
you can, the nice thing about having a paper map is you can see what else is on the way. If you're using GPS or something or just on, offline maps, it's really hard to sort of find interesting little dirt roads, and where does this go and where does that go, much more interesting if you can kind of see it on a map.
Right. It's kind of like if you're doing like even a couple of days of backpacking and you can have topographic maps and you know how to read those, then you actually can go and find interesting places. Interesting
stuff. Yeah, exactly. You don't need Google Earth. Yeah. Exactly. And you also know that, if I'm going to go from this ridge to that ridge, what the elevation change is going to be between those two ridges, because that can be a big stopping point as well. Yeah, for sure.
Well, because then you'll know if you're going to hit a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? That would be, I mean, I've done that before in Death Valley, just sort of wandering around by Zabriskie Point there, going down some of those trails. And, just keep wandering and, here goes. There's a theme here, but keep wandering down those trails. And I came to like about a 500-foot drop off. There was no choice. So I had to go back the way I came on that one. But it's always a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I don't know. I just think being able to read maps is such a great skill, or at minimum, to be familiar with the areas that you're going to be in so you know what to expect.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Or be with someone that knows it.
Yeah. I'd rather know myself. I trust myself. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, since you said Death Valley, and we did mention Michelle's sons. You told me about a little incident in
there's
Death
another
Valley.
one. Nobody's going to want to go traveling with me. They're going to think I'm just a disaster.
I absolutely do. But I know to cover my bases. I know what things to take with me now.
Yeah. I was a little bit better prepared for that one, I must admit. But so I had a business partner way back when, and was a friend of Michelle's, and had arranged to take her basically out to Death Valley and do some work on her. She was working on that project called the Feminine Landscape, which she still works on, which is absolutely gorgeous.
Wait, pause. Did you see that last image she did of Shanda Aiken in White Sands?
I think so.
It was last year.
So. Yeah, maybe.
It's called if I'll do the blog post for this and I'll put it in there, or I'll link to it. It's
because I love her, some of her images I've been out to White Sands with her too, obviously, and done some work on that project out there with her as well.
So good.
Is great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That one's called Desert Warrior. That's so good. Anyway, that project is really great. But yes, it's always good traveling with Michelle.
yeah, no, absolutely. No, she's a doll. I love her. And we both have British heritage, which was kind of neat. I didn't even know that till I actually met her. But anyway, he couldn't go for whatever reason. And so I said, well, shoot, I'll go. I have never met her before, but I'd be more than happy to meet. So I met her in Vegas, sight unseen. And we went out to Death Valley together, and we went to an area that's not often traveled to. So we just camped out there, and did some work. And so that was one of those situations where we go out and you have to hike into the dune complex quite a ways. First thing in the morning, come back during midday, and then go back out again at night. So we had come in after a morning shoot and decided to take ourselves over to Baker, which is sort of the closest little town to where we were, to get some Greek food, actually. There's a great little Greek restaurant in Baker.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously.
Every time I'm there, I get gas in Baker, and I have to keep on breathing.
No, there's a great little restaurant there.
All right,
anyway,
noted.
so we get gas and water and, all the things that one should have when one is out in the desert. So on our way back, guess who has a flat tire? So, and the roads out there are really bad. The rocks on the roads at Death Valley are sharp as heck. And so that's exactly what happened. We ended up with a puncture. So we are halfway between Baker and our campground. So it was a choice of, do we stop here and try and change the tire, or do we limp back to camp? And my thought was, let's just limp back to camp. I don't care what happens to the wheel of my car. I need to get myself and my new friend, back to safety, because at least our tents were there. Food and water was there. Everything was there. And we could get some shade, because now it's, once again, about 114, 150 degrees, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. So we literally limped back with the car to camp. Once we got there, we realized it was just too hot to mess around doing anything. So we laid down, both of us, in what little shadow there was for my Forerunner in the middle of the day, until it got a little bit cooler, and then played around and managed to get that tire changed. But the jack broke, and everything went wrong. But we just kept saying, we can do this. We've got this. And we did. And so we just took turns, and we got that stupid thing jacked up, and we got the tire changed. And next day we went back over to Baker again and got that sorted out properly. But I just told Michelle on that one, I said, you've earned your badass points on this one, girl, because that was a lot of fun. But ended up doing some great work out there. And, in retrospect, it was just a little blip, in the system. We just had a little detour, that was no big deal. We just sort of got everything together, and we knew we had our wits about us, and we could, get it done. And we had food and water and shade, and, so we got it done.
I think there's a lot to be said with how we deal with these kind of like adverse situations, like you just said, it was a little blip, but to somebody else, it could have been like,
a major panic.
Right. The world is ending. I don't know if I can do this, that kind of a
thing.
Well,
when you panic like that too, you don't think logically, you can maybe make some foolish decisions. I mean, I think the best decision that we made was to get back to our home base, our camp base, because no matter what, we weren't out in the middle of the desert, with no food, no water, no shade, no nothing. Even though, as I say, fortunately, the wheel on my car held up, and it still holds up to this day, so I didn't do it any horrible harm. But I must admit, driving back and going thudump through, another 10 miles of desert, and poor Michelle. But
and hoping that not another tire
right,
blows.
Exactly. Yeah, it could have gotten even worse. So, but anyway, just to say that it all ended up working out for the best, and was a minor minor little bloop and didn't stop us from doing some wonderful work out there. So that was fun.
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective of, yeah, we can just totally handle this, and whatever comes our way, we'll just, I'll just take care of it.
And that's what we did.
We'll just take care of it, and then we'll keep on going. And I think that's really important to the creative process, actually, to be able to like know that whatever comes your way, you're just going to handle it. And so then you're not stressed out when you're photographing, because I don't think I do good work when I'm feeling that way. And also, if you were worried about, am I going to get another flat tire? Like if there's nothing has gone wrong, or you fixed the thing and you're worried, then I don't find that I do good work either.
Yeah. I mean, if we had been worried about it, after the fact, after we got it fixed, we'd have probably packed everything up and left and gone home. But we didn't. Right. We stayed another 3 days, exactly. and did some great work. So, I mean, that's just what you do. Right.
And 3 cheers for meeting up with strangers and camping in the desert.
There we go. Absolutely. That was great.
It's sometimes what we do, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, Suzanne, this has been so fun. I'm like, is there a ton more stories?
Well, I'm going to go out and rent a bear so I can have a bear chase me through the forest or something. So I'll have a really good story to tell next time. But
just hang out with like Sarah Lindsay or just hang out with some
bear
other
bait.
People.
Right?
Oh, meet me in Big Bend. Meet me in Big Bend. There's more bears there.
Oh God, I've got Big Bend stories too.
Oh my gosh. This has been really fun to chat with you.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, you too.
Yeah. I always love this. And this is the first time that you and I have chatted, which I've just been wanting to converse with you. I mean, I guess maybe we've done remember back in the clubhouse days?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, that's right. Yeah, a little bit. And then of course in Caddo, met you in Caddo with Alex. Remember Alex was there? Yeah, that was neat.
Yep. Yeah, totally. That was a lot of fun. It's always fun. It's always fun to go places like Death Valley or Caddo Lake where there's a bunch of photographers kind of all at the same time.
Well, what's neat is when, you can spend a lot of time by yourself, or with your, whoever you're there with, and then get together in the evenings and swap stories and have fun and then go out and do a solo wander the next day too. I think that's actually my favorite way to go. So you're kind of with a group, but you're by yourself as well. And that makes it kind of fun. Yeah, we had a good time. That was a good trip.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for that. That's why if you go on a workshop where maybe you can get away from the group for a little bit or, whatever. So yeah, speaking of workshops, maybe it's not necessarily a workshop, but tell us what you have going on. And so that how can people join you for something?
So I'll be speaking at the Outdoor Photo Alliance in Estes Park, Colorado in February. So I'm going to have to get used to some cold weather, but it should be lovely. That area up there is just beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to it. And there's going to be it's a women's retreat. So there's a lot of really, really great women speakers coming. So it should be a really marvelous time. So I think it's February 6th through 9th, I think.
6th through 9th.
Okay, right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's still tickets. Yes. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. And if you're interested in some of the women, I'll just put this plug in here because I know that they'll love that. If you're interested in some of the women who are running it, I did a podcast episode where we were all together. It's called Ladies in Landscape Photography. Anyway, it's just a candid conversation. I'll put a link to that episode so you can kind of hear from them, and that's where they announce it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really wonderful conference / women's retreat.
It should be really great. There's a lot of really, really great speakers coming, great photographers, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to have to, as I say, dig out my my winter boots and my winter coat, but I think we can make it.
I know. Yeah, you can. At least you have those things
somewhere.
Right?
They're buried right now.
Same with mine. They're in a big box, but easily accessed for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, this was really fun. Suzanne, thank you for chatting with me. I just loved hearing about your adventures, and I think that you are a true adventurer. I really love that. I love your attitude regarding photography, and I think you just like embrace the moment.
I guess I do.
And
yeah,
I
I suppose that's true. Yeah. And as I say, I'm not much of a planner when it comes to photography and photography trips. I just always like to have a wander, see what's up that next road, just check things out and see what's going on. So makes life interesting. Somewhat scary sometimes, but interesting nonetheless.
Right. And now she's always
gassed
up.
Always gassed up, got plenty of water. Can make a cup of tea in the middle of nowhere. Yep.
That's true. Yes, we should be able to do that. All right. Well, this was wonderful. And you guys, I'll put links to everything in the notes. So Suzanne has plenty of opportunities to join Suzanne on an adventure. So go check that out. And Suzanne, thank you again. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Brie.
All right, everyone. See you next time. Bye. Come with me on my next adventure. Be a wild woman and join me on one of my small group photography escapes in places like the cypress swamps of East Texas or White Sands, New Mexico. Go to wildwomanphotography.com for all the details. While you're there, you can check out featured wild women, episode transcripts, and more. Oh, and I'd love for you to support this podcast and all these incredible wild women in photography by leaving a review or sharing with a friend. Thank you so much for listening.